Well, all right. It says showtime. That's what it said. It said showtime. And we are live. I hope I got all my whistles and bells together here. You understand? And I'm going to play one song and I'm going to be right with you. And I'm going to build the beat. What's happening, YouTube? I ain't streamed in a minute. I just wanted to talk a little shit and, not talk a little shit, but actually, I just had to put these 10 points on record, right? And just wanted to do a little video about these 10 points I wanted to speak on. So for the last 4 years, I've been asking these 10 points or 10 questions or so in hopes of a response, but can never get a response. People begin to get erratic, antsy, right? So much deflection, and not even one out of the 10 questions will they ever answer. I mean, like for years, I've just these 10 points. So bear with me for a minute. Bear with me for a minute. Let me share my screen and my system audio. Bear with me. I got it. Okay, I got it. YouTube, I got it.
Been in the game for quite some time, writing words and spitting rhymes, twisting up verbs and dropping dope lines. I'm here to take my shit back, motherfucker, gon' give me what's mine. Ow. You wanna do what I do? You gotta do, you do. You wanna talk the way I talk? You gotta talk, you talk. You wanna walk the way I walk? Yeah. But you can't, so you might as well stop. Try. Ooh, Shaq, ooh, Shaq. Ooh, Shaq, ooh, Shaq. Ooh, Shaq, ooh, Shaq. Ooh, Shaq, ooh, Shaq. Ooh, Shaq. Do you wanna know? Do you wanna know where he's Jack? I can tell you something about Jack. Where you were for real, baby. Let me show you. Jack. You like the stylish clothes I wear? Hold up, bitch! Don't touch my hair. Don't touch my hair, girl. You smell the fragrance of my cologne to the air. A bona fide Mac. Know what you know about that, Jack? You wanna do what I do? You gotta do it, you wanna talk the way I talk? You gotta talk, talk. You wanna walk the way I walk? Yeah. But you can't, so you might as well stop. Try. Ooh, Jack, ooh, Jack. Ooh, Jack, ooh, Jack. Hold up now, you must think you slick. You talking about that, but that ain't this. You think that you're magic, hocus pocus with all your tricks. Wanna impress me, bitch? Drown a fish. You be chill. You wanna do what I do? You gotta do what you do. You wanna talk the way I talk? You gotta talk, talk. You wanna walk the way I walk? Yeah. But you can't, so you might as well stop. Try.
Yeah, that is my shit right there. Who is Jack? But let me turn this tablet down. I just got this up so I can see my comments. What's happening, YouTube? Somebody asked me a question in the chat. Let me address that before I just do these 10 points and get back to this Laker game. What's happening, chat? Squally Vision, T Ben, Donnie Williams, Leo Sadler. I see your question. Neptune's Lagoon in the house. Who else is up here? Jesus Price, Jesus Price, Jay the God. What's happening, Kim folk? So, actually, I put Taharka's name, Bay's name in here, and also in the description, I put Sabir Bay, because it's just a topic that they, in their clicks, can never answer, but make certain claims, right? But someone asked, off topic, what's your thoughts on Tariq slapping Taharka Bay? And do you think Taharka Bay will be able to sue? Let me get to the latter question. I do not think he will be able to sue, and it would be um, extremely frivolous to a sincere court's eyes. It would be frivolous. Um, all they have to do is be aware of his YouTube page, and they can see just repetitive, constant, habitual harassment. Although I don't like Tariq Nasheed, and I think he's a fraud and a scammer and full of shit, right? But what Taharka Bay does is overboard and can be considered stalking, right? So as wild as his page is for a whole fucking year, day in and day out about Tariq, then he comes shows up in town somewhere where Tariq is. I mean, like, you can easily say, "Hey, I'm defending myself. This motherfucker ran up on me. I didn't know he's been stalking me, and he shows up in I mean, it would be frivolous and Jesus, it would be frivolous and Taharka Bay don't have a foot to stand on. But I did want to say, because Taharka Bay may tune in every now and then, he may tune on, depending what the subject is, right? Taharka, you're doing way, way, way too much, bro. I think Taharka's doing way, way too much. Like, there's been a lot of people I've exposed, and at most about 2 videos, and I'm pretty much done with them. You don't see me regularly making exposed videos about red and blue pill, Ali Muhammad, and Minister Inky, Layla Africa, Sabi, Dr. Sabi, and all these old people all down the line. I'll do a few and talk some shit in another video or two, but that just repetitive, habitual, that Taharka Bay does, yeah, that's overboard. Then you show up in the town, whether you was coming to file some shit in the court or whatever you was going to do, it's very stalkish. And on everything, just to be real, Taharka Bay is suffering from mental health issues right now. Bottom line. We just really need to be honest. Sometimes it doesn't matter if a person is speaking in a coherent way. You have geniuses that suffer mental health problems. Okay? Taharka Bay is definitely suffering some mental health issues. He is so preoccupied um, with this online drama that he kind of just loses himself and falls out of reality. Um, I'm not sure what the cat is chasing, you know, especially Taharka, when you're deceitful your damn self about your beliefs, the things you teach the community. You know they're all wrong, because I've watched you for years, been in debate after debate after debate. I've even been on your channel debating this. I've exposed you guys on so much in the debate, and you. So this is how I know a person is just intentionally lying and just intentionally miseducating people. So they're all in the same boat to me when it comes down to it. You're intentionally doing some deceitful shit towards black folk, whether it's intellectually or financially. Hey, USC football. Would you say Squally Vision? You haven't been to Tariq, world famous Aboriginal FBA hit. First of all, I think people even giving FBA that kind of shine. Not you, Squally Vision, but just other people always talking about FBA and never mention ADOS. They just doing the whole reparations advocacy movement are way wrong anyway. Just like you just know people is insincere. But that's a whole nother story. Um, okay, I think I know Jamie. Okay, I think I know who that is. Yes, so I was given this list of 10 at least 4 years ago, I would say, by a Mesoamerican scholarly type cat. And I've always held on to it, and no one could ever answer any of the 10 questions. I mean, not one of the 10. So sometimes I shoot it out there just to have people stumped. And I put certain people's name in the video. Let's just get into it. Now you can screenshot these things, use it for yourself, what have you, right? I just wanted to do this video and have this on record in video. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Let me share my screen. Let me stop sharing and redo it again. Make sure I got shit right. Okay, here we go. Got it. Okay, let's do this. Here we go. So I hope it's big enough for people to see. Let me see my tablet. 10 reasons why the Olmec were not Africans. And Africans never came to the Americas and traveled, excuse me, and traded with indigenous Americans like many black Americans profess. So let's just read this again. This is the 10 reasons why the Olmec were not Africans, and Africans never came to the Americas and traded with indigenous Americans like many black Americans profess. Now, let me clarify to make this clear. No black nappy haired person, and nappy is not a pejorative. If you think it's a pejorative, then that's your mental hang up. I'm just being clear so we know exactly who we talking about. I'm talking about me and my ancestors. I'm talking about black Americans who was in them cotton fields of America. This is who I'm talking about. So let's not be confused. Okay? You know who was in them cotton fields. Wasn't no immigrants in the cotton fields. Wasn't it was black Americans in them cotton fields. ADOS. Okay? So listen here. This is the 10 reasons, right? If let's go to number one. If the Olmecs were African, or if Africans came to the Americas before 1492, why didn't the Olmecs or any other tribe throughout the Americas have iron steel weapons? Africans were well versed in manufacturing iron weaponry, right? Number one can never be answered without people going erratic, deflecting, and acting a fool. Excuse me, let me back it up. I know what I was going to say. My claim is also no black nappy head person was ever in the entire Western Hemisphere prior to Columbus and the slave trade. That is my claim. I've made this claim forever. No one has ever proven this wrong. It's a bold, flat out claim. Not no nappy black person was in the entire Western Hemisphere. I'm being clear. Prior to Columbus and the slave trade. Run that by Dane Calloway. And tell Dane Calloway to answer any of these 10 points. Tell Sabir Bey to answer any of these 10 points we about to go over. Tell Taharka Bey to answer any of these 10 points. Tell any of these crazy Hebrews y'all fuck with who believe the same thing that they was in Americas. They believe the same shit. All these Asiatic people, right? Nation of Islam, five percenters. They all believe the same shit that black folk was here prior to the slave trade. Believe that. Did they suddenly forget how to make steel from iron? Why has there never been a pre Columbian steel iron artifact ever found in the Americas? Had Africans come, surely they would have brought with them their steel weapons and traded them with the indigenous people they came would have came in contact with. Excuse me if I read that wrong. Let's go to number two. If Olmecs were African or Africans came to the Americas before 1492, why didn't they bring any African crops such as rice? Huh? Rice was a main staple for many African tribes and doesn't show up in the Americas until the transatlantic slave trade. They haven't answered number two yet. What food did these Africans bring if they supposedly came here before Columbus? I need some answers. Wouldn't they have brought seeds? Watermelon, okra shows up in the Americas post 1492. Wouldn't those crops have been brought with them? They haven't answered two, let alone one. Three, if Africans had sailed to the Americas and made the colossal Olmec stone heads, why aren't there giant colossal Olmec heads in Africa, past or present? Nothing's in that's in semblance of it. Why do African stone carvings look nothing like the Olmec heads? Why has there never been any artifacts made in Africa found in any pre-Columbian archaeological site? Let me read this again because that's important to understand. It's under number three. Why has there never been any artifacts made in Africa found in any pre-Columbian archaeological site? Why? Okay, let's continue. Number four. If Africans came to the Americas and traded with the native inhabitants, why aren't there any indigenous American crops or animals in Africa such excuse me, let me read this again. If Africans came to the Americas and traded with the native inhabitants, why aren't there any indigenous American crops or animals in Africa such as maize, beans, squash, or turkeys? Five, if the Olmecs were African or if Africans came to the Americas before 1492, why is there no genetic record of them being African? Why are there no genetic markers in any pre Columbian skeletal remains or in any Native American population? Let me read that again. Why are there no genetic markers in any pre Columbian skeletal remains or in any Native American populations? Why? Number five hasn't been answered. Wait a minute, somebody's acting a fool in the chat. I haven't been reading the chat. Um, okay, let me continue. If Africans came to Americas Number six, five has never been answered. Number six, if Africans came to the Americas before 1492, they would have, unbeknown to them, brought old world diseases and infected the indigenous population who had no immunity to those diseases, which would have resulted in mass depopulation as what happened post 1492. Basically, what that's just saying, like any people who came to the new world, right? They considered it the new world from the old world, which is Africa, Europe, right? To the Americas, they would have killed the people off with diseases. I mean, yeah, with different diseases would have killed them off because they didn't have no immunity for them. We should always say, "Hey, because they was white and just dirty and they just brought the diseases." No, they would have been in any old world diseases would have killed off the population because they had no immunity for it. It wasn't a race thing. It was just a new world meeting the old world. What's up, Chuck Morgan? Okay. Number seven. Although moderately seafaring people, Africans didn't have the shipbuilding technology to sail through the entire Atlantic Ocean that would supply and feed a crew large enough to survive the several month voyage. Right. Sub Saharan Africans, because of their where their location is, they wasn't seafaring people. Like when I went to Africa and I did a video of the boats that they have. It's like canoes, like the Native American had canoes. It's no big deal. This is just what they had. The Native Americans had canoes. West African had canoe type boats. Even the ancient Egyptians had a glorified canoe. That's what all it was. It wasn't like a ship that's covered and can protect the people inside. Like I was in the Navy, so I know a little something about what I'm saying. I went out to sea for 6 months straight, right? So, um, um, sub-Saharan Africans weren't seafaring people like people in the Mediterranean and people in Europe, right? So, shipbuilding technology didn't improve into the very, very late 1300s. I'm going to say around 1385. And it was the Portuguese, out of everybody, who advanced shipbuilding technology. It's just what it is. It's just history. Then the Dutch picked it up and became masters, right? But it was the Portuguese who developed boats that were able to eventually, in the 1400s and late 1400s, eventually the shipbuilding technology and the boats that they built were able to traffic humans across large body oceans. Prior to the Portuguese advancing shipbuilding technology in 1390, you weren't able to take ship across large body oceans. It didn't happen. That's when human trafficking started. The time you were able to have ships that were able to cross large body oceans, that's when human trafficking happened and slavery across different hemispheres happened. Okay? Seven, although moderately seafaring peoples, I read that one already. Okay. Eight, if Africans came to the Americas to trade, as many Afrocentric and Afro pseudocentrics claim, wouldn't they have taken back artifacts from the Americas such as turquoise, jade, obsidian? No such American items have ever been found in Africa. No one can ever answer that question. Number eight. Nine. If the Olmec if the Olmec were Africans or Africans came to Americas before 1492, why don't African Americans speak the Olmec language? In parentheses, Proto Mix Zoki, if that's spelled right, or any other language other than English. Why is there no African language influences in the indigenous populations existing today? No one can answer number nine. I'm trying to tell you, all 10 points, these are daggers. These just ain't no lightweight questions. These are questions a nigga have to dig in the dirt to find and get. This is why they can't be answered. And the last but not least, and then I'm going to show a video real quick for further proof. 10. If Africans came to the Americas before 1492, there would be genetic archaeological, linguistic evidence, even native oral stories would speak of Africans traveling here. There is no such evidence or stories by any Native American tribe that support the claim that Africans traveled here to the Americas prior to 1492. Period. Now, black Americans, let's come on back to me. What's up, family? Got 45 on the clip tonight. Look here. So, in general, black Americans are only familiar with, they call the five civilized tribes. So, most black Americans will claim they came from the five civilized tribes, all in the South. They don't never claim them tribes in the North. They don't say, hey, I'm Lakota. You don't hear no black Americans say, I'm Lakota, I'm from the Lakota tribe. Because slavery and shit happened in the South, and they claim the five civilized tribes. Out of about 550 Native American tribes, black Americans is only familiar with the five civilized tribes. And them only five out of 500 and something. Right? Just think about it. Right? So the five civilized tribes, they call them the five civilized tribes. Um, um, West, no, the point is they don't claim Lakota because Lakota's not in the South. Whether it's in the West or the North is not my point. Who's this Tyrone Loon dude? Does he need a permanent block or can you handle yourself? Okay. So look, five out of 550 something tribes. So this is why blacks claim to be from the, I'm a Cherokee, I'm Choctaw. So what it was you a slave of a Choctaw or a slave of a Cherokee. And when you got free, the Choctaw and Cherokees had their own nation. And you became Choctaw or Cherokee citizens. Even in the bylaws, it was against the law. A Native American, a real Native American, would get banished or punished for even having sexual relationships with a slave. So the mixing didn't happen as much as people think. Hold on. Yeah, I just went on ahead and blocked the user for good. All right. Okay. So this is just the story behind the five civilized tribes and why black Americans are attached to those and not the other 500 ones. Because slavery was in the South. And they would call them the civilized tribes because these Native Americans became to be what they considered civilized. They began to dress like the Europeans, they began to wear suits, they took on slaves like the Europeans, they took on the Europeans' ideology and looked different than the other tribes. So they call them the five civilized tribes. They tried to become a part of Europeans and European slavery. That's just in a nutshell. Okay, so let me share this link. Not to share this link, but further, this is just some oral history. Sergeant Clark, who served as a Buffalo soldier all in the 1920s, and he just gives you a breakdown and lets you know the Native American never seen nappy head people and where they got the name of the Black Buffalo Soldier from. Just listen to the oral history.
We'll have more with James Clark on upcoming Fort Reports. Sergeant James Clark served as a Buffalo soldier at Fort Huachuca in the early 1920s. In previous Fort reports, we talked about his career and what it was like in a segregated military. In this segment, Sergeant Clark talks about the 10th Cavalry and how it became known as the Black Buffalo.
During the time in the Old West when they was taken over by the Americans from the Indians, when they sent the black troops in, which one was the 10th Cavalry, the black skin, the kinky hair resembled the buffalo. So the Indians called us Buffalo Boys. And that is why the 10th Cavalry got the name as the Black Buffalo. And our shoulder patch commemorated the Black Buffalo. And his slogan was, "Ready and forward." That's where the Black Buffalo got their name. The Indians had never seen black men. And at that time, this country was festive with buffalo. And the Indians called us Buffalo Boys. So we got the name. The 10th Cavalry got its name as the Buffalo Soldier. Well, the 10th fought,
Bam.
and at that time, this had never seen black men.
Say it again.
So got their name.
What did he say? What?
The Indians had never seen black men.
What? The Indians never seen black folk. Meaning you wasn't there. You never was seen in the Western Hemisphere. And the Buffalo Soldiers said so because they got their name from the Indians because their hair was woolly like the buffalo. They never seen your kind there, bro. They never seen my kind there. Ain't no shot, it's just a reality. Listen to him what he said.
And at that time, that's where the Black Buffalo got their name. The Indians had never seen black men. And at that time, this country was festive with buffalo. And the Indians called us Buffalo Boys. So we got the name. The 10th Cavalry got its name as the Buffalo Soldier. Well, the 10th...
Pause. So, he's letting you know, and the Buffalo Soldiers pass the story down amongst each other, that the Indians ain't never seen your kind there before. They never seen no kinky nappy head people. Because you didn't get there until Columbus and the slave trade. Right? So let me show you another reason. Like when I was in the Navy, I always show this. Let me show this. Hold on. I had made this a while back. Hold on. One second. Here we go. Just show you some real time shit. I mean, when I was in the Navy, this just brought back memories. Now, this is, I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen. Now, this, I believe, is an aircraft carrier. So it's bigger than the ship I was on, which is called a LST. I was on a, excuse me. Yeah, I was on a ship called the USS Cayuga, LST 1186. LST 1186 is an amphib ship. We used to carry Marines and let them offshore, right? So we were considered a small ship. Now, this is a big steel ship. This is why a canoe can never cross large body oceans and would drown and everybody would die. This is why the story of Mansa Musa said he sent a fleet of 200 ships and they didn't come back is one ship came back to say they all died. The seas is rough, it's cold, and soon as some of these waves hit you, you're done. Watch. Can you imagine? Just think. Just trying to give you some visual thing. Can you imagine if you're in a canoe and not even a quarter of this? You can't even float up out here without tipping over. Everyone's dead immediately. And this is an aircraft carrier, and these waves is going and hitting the top and going over. Same shit happened when I used to go to the China Sea when we was going to Philippines and shit. Water waves hitting in the China Sea storm, water going every. There's no way in the world ships could have crossed this unless they were advanced. Balls, like some of my Navy buddies who's been on these seas. We laugh when we think about when y'all talk about some ancient people was crossing the large body oceans and shit. We know that it's not really possible because you're gonna come into some rough waters. I just wanted to show that. But anyway, let me stop sharing. What's that in Ken? What's the chat talking about? I just wanted to kind of drop in 10 points. I didn't want to stay here long. Uh, I'm just reading the comments. Give me a second. What's y'all arguing about in the comments? Okay. Yeah, I had to cut some of this shit out. Hold on. Okay. People in the comments are saying somebody said Chief X is blocking. Let's be clear. Chief X never blocks anyone ever for disagreeing and talking like they got sense. Or disagreeing, you can disagree hard if you want. I love it. That's the point of me going hard. I like you to disagree hard, but come back with some truth. The thing is, I don't allow repeated disrespect. Let's be clear. So anyone thinking I'm blocking people for disagreeing don't know me and is maybe just being a troublemaker. Let's be clear. It's nothing about me petty at all. Okay? It's not that serious. So I don't block nobody for no reason. They have to have been committing serious, habitual, disrespectful offenses. Bet your bottom dollar on that. Okay, that's the only reason I block somebody. So if somebody got blocked, they was harassing big time and couldn't have an adult conversation. Okay. Who's you? I'm blocked. This is my backup. Then you say I'm blocked. This is my backup. You don't say who I am. Wait a minute. So I'm not sure who he's talking about. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to drop them 10 points. So if somebody's slick, they can talk all they want. I don't want to hear until they can answer one of them 10 questions. The case is closed. Everybody needs to shut the fuck up. Let Sabir Bay know. Let Dane Calloway know. Let Tin Harker Bay know. I need them to answer them 10 questions. If they can't answer them 10 questions, bend the fucking knee and submit. You've been intellectually defeated. I'm out of here, y'all. Liquor game time.